FTC podcast. My name is David Torres, and I've been a longtime student. A couple announcements before we get started is we have a free version of our Discord chat room, and it's linked below. What you'll get is access to our night reviews that are Monday through Thursday and occasionally on Sundays, and some other exclusive video content, and it's all free. And as well, all new chat room members get our 1 through 4 setups, and that used to be a previously paid course, and now it's free and included with every new member. Take advantage of that. And with that being said, it's my pleasure to introduce Rich Lepis, CEO, founder, and head instructor of Ahead of the Charts.
How's it going there,
Rich,
Dave?
it's going well. It was a good day in the market. It was definitely one
Yes.
of the most productive this week
Yeah,
for
we had some
sure.
big earnings yesterday, so it brought a nice amount of volume into even a lot of the name brand stocks. I mean, they've been taking a hit today. A lot of
hmm
like personalities. It's been definitely a good day.
Yeah, no, given this week, it just feels like a day like this makes up for the whole week, honestly.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
the phrase "it only takes one" really means that. You follow the rules, that one trade that really just continues to go, you kind of get that bonus money that comes into it. It really can make an entire week in itself.
Yeah, it's been an absolutely beautiful day. But kind of transitioning into today's topic, which is warrior trading. The FTC will require them to pay back 3 million to their previous students, and that's a big deal. I haven't seen a ton of media outlets or anything really talk about it. I haven't seen any videos out there on the subject, or even the company with themselves addressing it. Maybe they have not seen that, but the FTC will require them to refund 3 million to their students. It's reported they probably made tenfold of that, to be honest, with their whole marketing and that company, how they go about selling courses. But the main claim was the fact that all their video titles and all their content was very misleading. It's saying, deceptive earning claims, and you can make the X amount of this much by doing this exact strategy. So, and it really reports, the majority of students have lost money, not only with the courses, but also out there in the market. And then I'm sure there's some also broker incentives, those, there's a lot that goes into this case, because not only they lost money on the aspect of courses and trading in the market, but I'm sure they had their specific broker that they use, and there was some commissions there, and a lot of commissions could have gone to Ross. You know how that works with.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about that for a while, ever since, pretty much you talk about like the GameStops, the AMCs and stuff like that. When that whole Reddit boom started happening, there's been a lot of crackdown and people not only manipulating, but also manipulating people looking to learn how to do this.
Yeah, so I mean that's and to be honest here, they're when it comes to marketing and the promotion aspect, they're one of the first ones you see. They're just up there. The marketing
One of
aspect
the
is
best
very
at it
clear and blatant.
by far. I mean, you can't really talk about stocks without that popping up somewhere.
Yeah,
One
so
of the things that I've talked about with our students just so much, I don't care if it's with ATC. It doesn't matter to me. I know how to trade. Okay. But there's a lot of companies out there that claim that they're going to be able to teach you how to trade. And really what they are, they're not trading companies, they're marketing companies. I
mhm.
personally work for one. Before we started ATC, I worked at a big name company out there. And the guy himself, the further along I got and the further along I got in understanding the methodology, I realized the guy didn't really know anything, but he could sell you anything. I
Mhm.
mean, to this day, if my phone rang and I got on the phone with him, I might buy a class. That's how good.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of this that's going to be out there. It's unfortunate to an extent because there's it's so important. And it's funny because, like you said, there's not a lot of major, news and stuff like this that's talking about this right now. But in all reality, it should be more out there because these people that are coming in, I've seen a lot of more like YouTube type stories, talking about this and saying that classes, why would they make you pay for them? Well, first of all, if you do anything with your time that you're not making money for, then it's a hobby. So, obviously people want to be paid for using their time to teach, but to talk about that because something like this happens, that means that all classes are garbage and that you need a mentor. I
Mhm.
mean, it's that simple. So it's hard because there's so much, it's so easy to market these days. There's so many free outlets to be able to put yourself out there. it's a hard job for the newer student that's really looking how to learn, to find somebody. And to not only find somebody, but find somebody that can actually lead them to a place and answer questions about the problems that they're having that most of us are going to have. There's no such thing as a trader that just starts to, begins and it's just amazing instantly. We all know that.
Yep.
So it's been real interesting reading about this stuff and just hearing kind of the comments out there.
Yeah, and from the student experience side, I've got to talk to a few people that have gone through the courses. They've the amount of it blows my mind the fact that they didn't have even much interaction with their supposedly head instructor, much interaction with their mentor. I mean, what kind of methodology or process is that where the individual who supposedly is the master of the methodology, you don't really get to directly talk to or have conversations with? That to me blows my mind because you're just relying on cookie cutter courses that are recorded already and you're trying to learn a pattern that is just based on the charts. So to me, just the sheer fact that you don't really have that connection or ability to talk to your mentor is what, surprises me why they continuously had so many people continuously over and over.
So I think that kind of plays a lot to the ability to be able to create videos and put them out what you want to.
Hmm.
So I could create a methodology in my head right now that literally has no percentage within the market, but I can kind of sit back. I can build a million videos on something that happened that I can duplicate if I really wanted to. So the fact of not being, interactive with that and really kind of, having that one-on-one time, it kind of makes you think a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's be real here. If they wouldn't be in this situation if their students were, a majority of them were successful or finding some signs of success or they had, that success spectrum. And just when you lose money is when things start to come to the highlight and to the attention of those lawmakers. But at the end of the day, if they were in a position where they were successful, they wouldn't be in this position. And just kind of from the perspective of that their methodology in terms of momentum trading, we obviously have had a few students that have come through with that momentum trading aspect, and when they come to learn tape reading they have to really unlearn absolutely everything about the way they were taught to trade.
They're bad
uh,
habits.
yeah, in terms of momentum trading, how can you see like just newer students just ultimately quickly fail with that type of methodology of just really price action?
Yeah, so I do want to bring up before we even get into that question,
Mm,
on for the side of warrior trading or any teacher out there, you can teach the best thing in the entire world. Not everyone's going to get
yeah.
it. Right? Trading is a hard thing to do. 90% of people actually fail at doing this. So I do want to give credit to the point where not everyone's ever going to be successful. It's unfortunate, but it's the
Mm,
percent. Everyone has, so the key to picking the methodology that you're going to use is, do I actually have a chance? Because I can tell you everything in the world, if you don't follow you're going to lose your money. It's that simple. So I
mhm.
don't want to just put it out there as if there's a lot of students, because if a lot of students didn't listen, we don't know that backstory. So I don't want
Mhm.
to accuse somebody of something that I don't know. I've never taken the class. I don't know if it's valid. I've never paid attention to it. So I do want to put that out there. I don't want anyone to think that just because you pick the right class, you're going to succeed. It takes work. This is
Right.
not a get rich quick scheme by any means. So what's being told not only needs to be followed, but the work has to be put in to actually make it become a habit on top of that. So let's talk about for a second when you're talking about momentum trading. So the problem with momentum trading is it feeds into exactly what market makers use to trick people.
Mm.
So we brought this up a million times before, but there's one thing I know. So I don't need to know who the trader is. I don't need to know their methodology, anything about them, where they learned, literally any variable. I don't need to know anything about them. I know there's one thing on their chart, excuse me, on their screen, and I kind of just gave it away.
A
But
chart.
everybody's got a chart.
Yeah.
No matter what, every single person has a chart. And the thing about a chart is that it is the easiest part of trading to manipulate, because a chart can lie. A stock can go straight up to the moon, but have actually no substance
Mm.
within it to show a reason to be there. And as we know as tape readers, eventually that stock is coming crashing down and it's going to be ugly. Okay, so the problem with momentum trading alone, once you start to, especially as a tape reader, if you really start to get, to a more of an advanced level and understanding what the prints are, adding momentum into it isn't necessarily a bad thing. But the problem that I see is that when it's your foundation, it has you staring at for 90% of the time at the one part of trading. Well, I mean, there's other, but the biggest part of trading that lies to you.
Hmm.
So it's almost like setting someone up for failure. Because as we know, momentum, okay, the first time, if you're not anticipating a specific spot based off calculations, the first time the stock moves, you're not getting into it at that moment. You're not ready yet. Momentum trading means that the stock actually has to start doing something first. And as we know, the key is the first trigger. First trigger is always the highest percentage because that's when they really want to get away from their position. Then the games start getting played afterwards. So, like I said, the problem that I see that aligns with it, especially with a new trader that has no discipline, has no psychology, is that they're waiting for a stock to then start moving to then get in when we know at that point is probably one of the most dangerous points there
Hmm.
are to actually get into a trade. So I'm not saying it doesn't work. He might have the best methodology in the entire world. I don't know. I've never actually paid enough attention to it you know, to really understand what he's teaching. I never took a class, so I can't speak on that, but I can speak on the thousands of people that I've taught before. And if I chose to teach them to watch a chart, to start moving, to then find that trade and not be anticipating the actual trade, most of my people would fail almost
Hmm.
instantly. And then you'd
Yeah.
have a stock, you'd be like, well, it moved $5. How are you losing in it? Well, because by the time it barred up $3, and by the time that I got into it, it was time to pull back. You got to think about it. Momentum means everyone's watching.
Hmm.
And when a stock moves, everyone's watching. You go to one of the financial channels, you don't see them pull up a stock that's like, okay, well, this might move at some. No, they pull up, what's sexy, what shows, something that's interesting. They're pulling up things that are happening right this second. So the more people that are looking at it, once again, you got to always use percentages. You think 90% of people fail. So if 90% of people are looking at it at this moment now, it's going to be a lot of games being played.
Yeah. And what kind of blows my mind is, excuse me, the calculation aspect, how important it is to set those proper calculations and how much those are used, especially for price targets, for how much they need to build. Without that proper setting of calculations based upon the prints, it to me, just putting myself out there trying to trade price action like that, it's almost impossible in my eyes, just because how focused we are, specifically watching the tape and following a market maker and setting up these calculations, and that calculation aspect, just from a chart aspect, I don't know how you can create something that's super consistent in terms of calculation when all your trading is volume and price action.
That's the problem. What you can't put a percentage on a stock that's running on momentum
Yeah.
because it depends. When did you get in? Did you know it was going to start, running on momentum? Did you know this was going to happen previously? So the movement of a chart, really, without
Mhm.
without adding substance to it, to me, is just you're literally gambling.
Yeah.
Say you're better off going to, like, Vegas or Atlantic City, or a casino that at least you get free drinks there if you're going to gamble your money away. I mean,
That's
there's
true.
just no real way to be able to calculate it.
Hmm.
What's your percentage? So what percentage on every stock that gives a bar up continue? It's too hard to do because there's too many variables that go into it. So your main variable that you're focusing on isn't, you can't duplicate it again tomorrow. What if the market's dead that day and you have stocks
Yeah.
that are moving normally? Does that mean you don't trade?
What if that follow through is really lacking as well, and it's more of a building type of day?
100%. So that these
Yeah.
bars that are coming up, every trade you take on it, you lose because they're
Yeah.
going to come right back down. And not only they're going to build on those building type days, as we know, they'll run it up to make it look real good for a second, and it bars down the entire position almost immediately.
Hmm.
So it's just without adding something else into it, because momentum's great. Don't get me wrong, I love it. When I see
Hmm.
momentum come into, a cheaper stock during the middle of the afternoon or something like that, I'm going, but I need to know what the substance in that momentum
Hmm.
is. It's not just the stock moving. And I
Yeah.
know there's more that goes into, that other methodology, but the foundation is being built on something that's not sturdy.
Yeah.
It's in my opinion, momentum is an add-on to something. It's not the whole piece of the puzzle to what's going to happen.
Yeah. Just being able to create a consistent approach off of that. I mean, I can just imagine how difficult it was, especially if you're a new student and this is your first take at the market, just and that's your sole foundation.
I could probably guarantee you I'd fail.
Yeah.
I
It's
almost guaranteed.
yeah,
And
I'm
then,
sure.
and then I'd probably sit there, and then this is the messed up part too. And I can understand why a lot of people, continue with that method because I truly believe you need to pick a method. Okay.
Mhm.
You have methodology that will be here tomorrow, the next day, 10 years from now, because the worst thing that could ever happen to you is let's say you're making up, 100 grand a week, and then all of a sudden now you can't trade anymore. Your
Mhm.
methodology's gone. So now you have $100,000 a week bills to pay, but essentially you just lost your job.
Yeah.
So, when I really kind of think about, the whole situation and just kind of starting with that foundation, it's just I can't see a way of it working. And as you brought up, the newer students, the worst part about this whole thing is that they picked this methodology. And honestly, that like I said, there's people out there that can market the hell out of anything. I mean, literally sell snow to an Eskimo, type of deal. So with that new student, they're wondering, well, the stock moved $5. How do I keep losing on my trades? Because $5 seems like, it made a big run. How could you lose on a big run? If you just clicked the button, you would have made money.
Mhm.
But it doesn't work that way. And the market makers control the stocks to not allow it to work that way. How often do we have days where all retail gets to make money?
Oh, it's very rare.
Yeah, those days are so much fun for us
Mhm.
because at that point we can see our personalities and the stocks just keep going, 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 going. And those are the days it's, I bring it up to golf. You have the worst day of golf ever. But if on that 18th hole you hit a beautiful shot or you hit a hole in one on that 18th hole, it brings you back.
Mhm.
So it only takes that one little thing to kind of bring you back and forget about all the bad that's happening. And momentum will do that for you
Mhm.
because you might lose 10 trades in a row that week. And then that one trade is going to be big because you followed the momentum. And this time it happened to be where they allowed it to give it a release. But it's just not a consistent thing that you can build a career upon. If I
Yeah.
can't do it tomorrow and I can't calculate the percentage of doing it tomorrow, in my opinion, you're gambling at that point.
Yeah, and it's so important to really find the proper methodology. So on that note, how do students go about your advice to students? They don't even have to be ATC or even join ATC. There's no bias there, but just what does the screening process look like for a student to go find a proper instructor, mentor, and a proper methodology?
Well, number one, I would like to know that the person that is teaching me is involved.
Hmm.
Because if they're not involved, that means that it's so like the way that I look at myself as a trader and then I teach what I do. Okay. I don't look at myself as a owner of a trading school.
Hmm.
Okay. So my trading is what I do. And it just so happens that during, as we know in the afternoons, what else would we do besides TV? And not only, teaching is a great thing for a trader because it makes you have to really think things out, especially you have questions that are coming from students, but make sure that your teacher is involved. And then I know this is going to sound really weird, but it's almost like this I don't know how to explain it. It's almost like picking a friend.
Hmm.
You ever meet somebody and you kind of just,
Yeah.
you have that intuition about them that what they're saying is, they're just genuine. Find someone that's genuine. And that's not an easy thing. So, and I'm not explaining it very well at all, but it's kind of that type of feeling is, you have to feel comfortable that that person actually has your best interest in mind.
Hmm.
If somebody you call them up and they tell you that within a month from now you're going to be making $100,000 a week, Okay, wrong person,
Yep.
because that's not going to happen. I mean, maybe someone out there has done it before, but I can almost guarantee you it's not going to happen. Unless you have billionaire and just have expendable money, but then this is a hobby now, and you probably wouldn't be, doing that in the
Yeah.
first. You know what I'm saying? A few other things, they have to be able to explain a stock. So if you're going to take classes with somebody and they're asking you what should happen, but never tell you what they see and is going to happen, that's another flag that I see.
Hmm.
Because it's very easy to have a class and in hindsight explain what happens. But you really want somebody that can anticipate, one of the biggest things, if you're going to even looking for a methodology, get a teacher, but you should be able to anticipate something happening before it does. Because as we just talked about in momentum, if you're on the opposite side of that and you're getting into things after they happen, now you're not really trading the stock, you're reacting to a stock.
Hmm.
That's another big one that I would definitely want to make sure the person that I'm following is able to essentially draw a chart in their head.
Yeah. So those are
And
some
that's,
great
believe me,
points.
that's not an easy thing to do. You've seen it done in classes before. It's not easy.
Yeah, not easy at all. And just kind of jumping back into a few years ago when I was a student here, I mean, just I also went through the scanning screen process with multiple, methodologies in schools trying to learn trading. So it's not something that you need to necessarily do for one school or whatever. It's a process that you should do and every student should be doing. But just kind of maybe it's a little biased here, but obviously I stuck around long enough to become a successful trader here at ATC. So I did the proper scanning, first of all. So what that scanning looked like to me was, okay, I had a few schools that I looked at. Some were pretty much saying, okay, if it hits this level, buy here. If it doesn't hit that level, buy here. And then the following day, the same meeting evaluating those would be like, oh, well, it didn't do that, it didn't do this. And it became such an ambiguous process where it wasn't defined and there wasn't that clear interactive experience with the instructors where you pretty much had to pay for the maximum course just to even talk to them. And the process of them breaking something down and reevaluating it wasn't there. It was just you could see the inconsistencies in the approach. So those were the main things that I searched for. And then when I came to ATC, I just observed for quite some time. I'm obviously never going to jump into anything without observing, but it came down to a point where we had these live meetings called Traders Exchange, and Rich would break down the prints and everything based upon the prints and the calculations that were. It all came back to psychology as well, and just those setups. They would come into fruition over and over and over again. The psychological process repeated itself, and just the sheer substance behind the trades and anticipating what was to come was broken down over and over and over again. It got to the point where, okay, this guy is breaking down the tape and the chart is matching. And if it doesn't match, there's reasons behind that. And it just that whole methodology aspect of just testing it and seeing if it's consistent, and then also looking at the community. Is there ability for interaction? How's the classes? Are they done live or are they all just recorded? Is it cookie cutter where you buy it and you're watching videos of something that was traded 2 years ago? No, and also looking at the students that are members, is there veteran traders that are still around? Is there successful students that are a part of the community? And just doing that thorough screening process of even talking to them and their experience with classes and where they're at as traders. So just kind of the overall process, it needs to be from top to bottom. There can't be any signs of really weaknesses or that marketing to creep in there where it's sell you the hope and dreams. It's more about uh, what the methodology is and the interaction with the company and just being able to have a process in a community to focus around rather than something that is so ambiguous. And it came out of results really. When the tape happens, the same patterns in the tape happen over and over again. The charts always can look the same. Those setups are 1 through 4. So was that was way before back we even named those, or you named those 1 through 4. But saw the
Hmm.
consistency way back then. At the end of the day, it's just do your screening, and if you do look at multiple companies, you'll end up seeing the few that stand out, and it's because those students' retention are very high, and the process is repeated. Those classes are live, and an instructor adapts to the market as well. Every market condition is broken down, and you're just not getting those cookie cutter videos sent to you that are 10, 15 minutes, and it's just a highlight of one great trade. It's the consistency of every single trade. So
Yeah, no, I
that's
mean
kind of my
that's
two
a
cents there.
phenomenal point. One thing I love about tape reading is that no one can lie.
Yeah.
So even in the chat room, someone could say they take a trade, they will get jumped on if there's no prints there.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't match, there's no saying, well, I took this trade and I don't have a reason for it. It doesn't exist here.
Yeah.
You better have your prints if you're going to take it. If not, I swear, I mean, you see it in the chat
Yeah.
room.
I have.
People, someone will make a call out and say, I took this trade. It could be for $8, and everyone would say, no, sorry, that's not a trade. We
Yeah.
didn't take it. So it almost forces you to not be allowed to use movement or use, a thought process that doesn't have to do with how stocks actually move. If you don't have your prints and you call out a trade and say you made this trade, well, everyone's gonna know because everyone's looking at it. We
Yeah.
know what
Everyone.
the trade needs to look like. We know how to add percentages. So it not only does it teach you how to actually do that, but it also holds you accountable.
It does. You have a whole
You can't
community.
lie. We're all looking at it.
Yeah. We have, and the night reviews especially, which we is
Oh,
another addition. You get to bring your trades in that you recorded live and you break it down in front of us. And if your methodology has nothing to do with tape reading, then people will call you out and they'll let you know because that is the approach with ATC and that's the methodology and that's where all of our students find their success is that consistent approach with the tape.
can I
So,
do it tomorrow?
yep. But
Yes, sir.
already, Rich, sounds like a great end to the conversation, keeping it around the half hour mark. Appreciate your time as always. A really great podcast and look forward to the next.
All right, Dave. I'll talk to you later.